Okay, okay, here we go again. As promised last week, when there was no wind in the fields, I've come back to Malshanger to try another go at the slow shutter speed stuff. This time I've made a few changes to my equipment, which I'll describe later on. But right, let's take a walk. It'll take me another 10 minutes to get to those fields again. One of the changes, because I was getting muffled out by the wind, you might notice on my belt I've got my own, because I haven't got the sound mic equipment for this camera yet, which I ought to order. I've jury rigged, being an engineer, the old Rode microphone to my waist, and it's now wired to my Insta camera. Hopefully it will actually muffle out a bit, although you'll get probably muffling from my clothing at the moment. But we'll see how it goes. So here we are again. So they haven't harvested the barley, which is good. Which is what I wanted to be here, but still a bit on the short side. I think it's stunted this year due to the weather. Normally it's about waist height, but it's moving about a bit in the breeze, so hopefully I'll be a bit more successful this time. There's the farm up ahead, the sheared out farm. Just setting up now, about the right distance from the farm. Again, I'm dubious about the movement of the barley. But there we go, it is moving a bit more than it was last week. Light's flat as I expected to. The sky, I shouldn't need the half density, neutral density filter. It's always a faff. Okay, I certainly are having some technical issues today. The mic, although I was doing a lot of photography, decided it didn't want to record anything, so I've set it up and checked it this time and it's recording. Right, so the only thing I can do is describe how I set the equipment up. So I've set it up with on the tripod at about the same height as I did last week. There is a little bit more wind. There's so much wind I'm using my bag as a counterweight to try and steady the tripod a bit. Using my 10 stop filter on the front, using the 18 to 55 this week, because what I found last week with the wider angle and using that gradual neutral density filter in front of it, it was narrower than the actual field of view. So what I was trying to do was just wave it around a bit just to try and soften it a little bit, but what I found, the edges were a little on the bright side because it was just not exposing it right. So, but today I probably don't need it because it's flat light and the sky is about the same brightness as the foreground, so we can expose for everything. Right, so the first shot I took was at f22 on my 10 stop filter, shutter speed of 2 minutes, ISO 80. Yeah, I've managed to record a little bit of movement in the barley, but not as much again as I hoped for. But what I found is, although the sky, as you can see, it was cloudy, it just blurred out the sky into a sort of a grey mass. So I've taken another one. I've set the ISO dial up to 800, so it gives me a bit more speed on the exposure, and set the exposure down to 6.5 seconds. That gave me a good exposure, and I managed to capture a little detail in the sky. So hopefully I can maybe be able to blend those two later to get the effect in Photoshop. And I've taken another one without the filter. I'll take it off now. This is the neutral density filter at 10 stops. That's the one I've been using. This is a Hoya Pro ND EX 1000. That's a 72mm diameter, but with the narrower lens on it, I've got an adapter on the front which allows me to fit that. So that's the end of it. The sound wasn't working on the mic earlier. You probably saw me trying to fit another filter on the front. So what I was going to try and do was get the exposure time lower than I had. So this one I bought before I had the gradual, the neutral density filter before. This is a variable one. This takes us from somewhere about 2 stops to about 9 stops or something like that. But what I found when I was using it, when you go to max on this, you get a dark X shape across your image, which just ruins it. So, but it is usable up to about 2 to 3 stops. You don't get that effect. So, but what I found when I put it on there, I could get it down to about, the slowest I got it to was about 8 seconds, which was just far too much. So I decided to take it off. Okay, that's me all packed up, ready to go home now. The rain's kept off, which is good. Had a few, as you know, technical issues. So it's going to be interesting in the editing. I might have to be a bit sort of like artistic license, I think. But as I said, we'll see how it goes. Harvesting something over there, not sure what. This is a lovely copper beach here. When the sun catches, it's lovely.